sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
Thank you for tuning in for this edition of Justice Watch with attorney Zulu Ali. I am attorney Zulu Ali with Justice Watch crew, Rosa Nunez, Michael Bilal Clark, Dr. Kil Bashir, Andrew Rodeman, and Ryan Rose. This week, like every week, we'll be discussing critical legal and social justice issues that are impacting our communities. This week, we'll be discussing a lot.
A lot.
We done had quite a bit of stuff that's done happen. I think that beginning with the Biden exiting the re-election, the Republican National Convention, the assassination attempt, his selection for vice president, Kamala Harris, or Vice President Kamala Harris. And so there's a lot to talk about, and of course that announcement about, and for those who may not know, our President Joe Biden had announced today that he would not be seeking re-election. The assumption is that the Vice President Kamala Harris will be the main individual who will probably come out of the, selection from the party, since she is the vice president. That does not necessarily have to be the case, but, there is the presumption that it will be the case. So, I mean, there's a whole lot going on. And I think, with so much to discuss today, I mean, I guess we're going to start with President Joe Biden dropping out of the election. I know Bilal claims he made that prediction.
Well, well, basically what I said was I believe that they're going to force him. They're going to force him to step down, and I kind of figured that,
Yeah. You think they forced him?
Yeah, I think they forced him. I think they told him he needed to step back after looking at the polls, after the little debate. I mean, I think the debate actually put the seal on it.
Yeah. Is that what you think, Ryan?
I agree. I think that just display and seeing him on that stage and him seeming just so slow and just sort of, he just wasn't sharp enough to just in these next few months, I really think, get the wheels turning on a successful campaign. And I think that, I'm actually surprised it happened. I really didn't think it was going to happen. I'm surprised it actually pulled the plug. I remember seeing a rumor earlier this week that President Obama had some concerns. And I think when I saw that, I was like, okay, this might be a real thing. And to see it actually happen, is very surprising. And I think I'm a little, honestly, it's I know we've been sort of critical the last few weeks, but I think I'm more concerned than I was before.
Wow. What about you, Rosa? What you think about your president, Joe Biden, not seeking re-election?
I mean, I feel like it was long overdue. We can definitely see that his mental agility has been suffering from the time that he's been in office, right? And I truly do feel that it's the best interest of the party to have him removed. However, where I stand is that I feel that this should have been done earlier in this whole campaign. Now I almost get this feeling that we almost have to support, right, Kamala Harris, because she's the only one out of anybody else that could possibly and potentially be running, like Governor Newsom and others who have come out and said that they would run for the presidency office. And I feel that we're having to stick with this candidate that is being pushed by the party itself, which in turn is truly problematic for the party itself.
Yeah.
So I think that is it problematic because the President Joe Biden waited so long, or the fact that we're stuck with Kamala Harris? Is she strong enough? Is that a concern?
It's both.
Yeah, I believe that is.
Really, it was long overdue.
Yeah.
But I think that also her approval ratings, they range between the 30s and 40s. You know, her approval ratings are extremely low. She's been in office and she hasn't done much. When we talk about, and I understand that, you know, Congress and Senate are not in her favor. However, you know, we were sold this agenda, right? That there would be criminal justice reform, that there would be immigration reform, that there would be a lot of policy for immigrations and minorities, and none of that has come to fruition.
Wow.
Yeah. I honestly believe that we waited too long, entirely too long, because now what it does is it put people in a position as to who we know, who we can believe, and who we can trust in. And the only person that they can actually believe and trust in is Kamala, right? Because they know Gavin Newsom is not well known, you know? And so it doesn't, like, you know, if they did it early on, it would have gave, you know, the voters enough time to do research and find out who Gavin Newsom was or whoever it was. But the only person that can actually get up there and they know is Kamala, and I think is Michelle Obama.
I don't know. I mean, I think that of course, a huge issue, I guess, is going to be the running mate. I mean, won't the running mate, or who they choose to be the running mate, won't that have a huge impact? I mean, I know that it may be one of those situations where in out of all the elections, you know, the running mate may be more important than a person at the top of the ticket.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, I think there has to be some significant, there had to be some serious strategy in choosing who the running mate is going to be.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know who that may be. I know that there's going to be some challenges, you know, in the party as to whether they should put somebody else to run against, you know, Donald Trump. But you know, my prediction, I still have my same prediction. My prediction is they ain't gonna let him win.
Yeah.
Y'all still don't believe me?
And you know, I don't know, man.
Y'all laughing at me?
No, I've been thinking about that. I seriously been thinking about that, especially since the convention and just hearing all the people that came out and support him, all the rhetoric behind it. Man, there's a possibility that he won't. But then, does that mean that who we have before us now will uphold that position? I don't know. This is the weirdest, man. This is the craziest one I've seen yet in the history of this country. Yeah, this is a lot.
It seems like it's been best practice by the party itself to endorse a candidate that has already been endorsed by the president, sitting president. But I do agree that this election is and should be the exception, especially considering, I think, where we will see a change and a drift in who we vote for will be in who this person, Kamala Harris, right? Vice President Kamala Harris, chooses as her own potential nominee as a vice president. And I think that the other party has been extremely strategic when it comes to choosing a vice president. We're talking about Vince, right, who is somebody who can be seen as someone who caters to minorities. We're talking about the minority vote again. You know, so what is the Democratic Party going to do to get a hold of that minority vote?
Yeah.
What you think, Ron?
I mean, when I said I was concerned, like earlier, I think it's more so focused on the fact that I just feel like it brings on another group of problems. Because before it was ageism. Now we're going to have sexism back. We're going to have racism.
Yeah.
And all of the issues that come with that. And who she chooses for her, like, her running mate almost has to offset some of those things. I don't know how exactly you would go about that, but she has to find somebody who, in all of the things where she might fall short to some people, makes up for it in a weird way, and that's going to be really, really tough. And I don't really know who she could choose. I think that's a concern too, because like, who do you choose as a running mate? Honestly, that we would really believe in and like want to jump on board with, be excited about. I don't know if there's anybody that comes to my mind. I know Gavin Newsom was a name, but I don't know if there's anybody that at this point would get people excited about anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, somebody's going to have, you know, definitely going to have to be somebody's going to outshine the headliner.
Correct.
In order for this one to be, you know, to get that kind of, you know, support that we're going to need from the party. But you still didn't, y'all laughed at me when I made my statement. Did nobody get involved in that in my theory? Yeah, I mean, I think that as I don't know, Rose, I know that you've been listening, you know, been doing a lot of production work, so I know you haven't been at the table, but I know, you know, but I'm sure you've heard my theory that, you know, I don't believe, and this is one of the things now. Barack Obama himself had went online or one of the social media platforms and says that our country cannot. This is the most serious thing that he cannot become the president. He said he's one of the most dangerous threats to our country is Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and again, when I say that, I mean I think that, you know, it's kind of one of those things where, you know, it's kind of hard to articulate, but I think as far as a president is concerned, I think that we've never. I mean, he is who he is, right? Mm-hmm. But the problem is, I don't think that do you really seriously think that we could conduct the business of government under his presidency? The distraction would be huge, and I would begin by this, you know, like for example, like all those pending state cases, right? Now you know that the Supreme Court only hears a certain amount of cases a year, right?
Yeah.
They would have to hear all of his. The courts would be flooded with constitutional challenges as to what you could do with a sitting president. Can you? I mean, you also have to also have to look at it this way. You know, they said that there's going to come a time when, you know, when we begin to start. Maybe there always has been a value problem, right? But I think that the fact that let's begin with the 32 felonies.
Yeah.
I mean, am I the only person in the room that doesn't think that that's just so bizarre? Huh?
No.
That I mean, in other words, in a healthy, democratic society that leads the world in morality and the moral compass and the do good nation. Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got to remember, too, he packed the court.
Yeah, he did. He packed the court.
He did. He packed the court.
Yeah.
And he's going to pack it again with cases.
Yeah.
with court cases. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that, you know, for me, I think that, you know, we have to basically pump our brakes and really start really looking at, you know, the situation. And it's like, you know, enough already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, you know, sometimes, you know, I don't want to get hit in the face. But sometimes I think that basically sometimes you have to get hit in the face, and I think that's the problem, is that we have, and I've said this a lot, you know, often, I think that we've gotten too complacent.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that basically, nobody, basically, we're living in a society where everybody has been given everything. We're a very spoiled society. Nobody's really gone through a depression.
Yeah.
I
Correct.
think that, it's been a minute since the 80s where we were scared during the Cold War and the possibilities and probabilities,
Yeah.
right? But I think that now, if I was, we hear these if I was China, I know China says that they basically, it's a lose-lose, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump, and some of the other, what are considered maybe the, for the lack of a better term, rogue nations.
Yeah.
But I think that, if I was another nation, and I don't know how smart other nations are, I would want him to be the president of the United States if I really did not want to see America succeed. And the reason why is because now what happens is that it is an indictment on the true morality and value system of America, is that our values and morals is not more important. Now, the argument is that we got a value problem anyway, and moral problem anyway, because we're seeing, they're saying it is the liberal left wing that is the abortion issue, the gay issue, LGBTQ issue, so they're saying our moral fiber is basically backing away anyway, but then they're basically making friends with strange bedfellows in order to address a moral problem to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like, it reminds me of Training Day, where, what's my man, Denzel was saying that basically, you don't, you have to, what type of people does it take to deal with the underbelly people? You get the worst of the worst to deal with the worst of the worst.
Correct.
Right? And that's kind of, maybe that's the attitude. I don't know. Talk to me.
I hear you in having the concern over, just in general, the aura that is sent with him as a president, right? Yet I feel that we are at a very catalytic point as a nation. I do see America as a failing empire.
Yeah.
And I almost feel that this is the camel that is going to break its back.
Correct.
The straw that breaks the camel's back, And I could sit here and feel and be optimistic. However, I feel that both parties have moved so far in their own arenas. We have the far left and the far right. There's no in between. And when we even think of these potential candidates, right, for presidents in the Democratic Party, it's the same thing that we're seeing. There's no moderate. Is either far left or far right, and there's no unity. Not to mention, Trump is up in 7 out of 8 swing states in the polls after this whole incident, So that in itself just really presents a stark image of what our future might look like come November.
Yeah. Man, I'm just, no, I'm serious, man. This is one of these situations where I'm so numb with it in terms of like, as far as like what the outcome is going to be. I mean, like you say, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's like, what way can you lean and expect a different outcome? And I think one of the things you said about as far as like other countries looking, I think that's and then the thing what you were saying, Rosa, about as far as like this is probably going to be the straw that breaks the camel back. And I sort of feel that same way because of, just the overall politics of, how we seen the presidential candidates of the past, and up until this point now. I don't think we ever seen antics such as we see right now. I don't think we ever seen a election that's going, in this totally different direction. And I just think that there's a lot of countries just looking and wanting to know exactly what's going to happen from this point on. And and from my perspective, I just don't think it's going to be good either way.
This is Joe gave me a note. He says we wanted someone other than the two old guys. Now we have it. Celebrate. So, right. So we do.
You did. You did say it.
Wow.
We
Hey,
did.
I got a question.
Uh-huh.
I got a question. I'm going to pose you because I know I don't want to get into conspiracy hour, but I know you, like you said, you said something you don't feel like they're going to let Trump win. So my question to you is, like, if that were to be the play, what does that look like? Because, like, if they don't let him win, we've already seen an assassination attempt. Like, what could be the thing that stops the Trump train from going?
Control the voting.
Mm-hmm.
Or
As simple as that?
Yep.
or put them in handcuffs.
Yeah,
That's
That
what
was
Joe
my thought.
said.
that's the only two ways.
You know what I mean? And he's got all this stuff. That's a lot.
It is.
Because he's got so many. There's only one case that's been adjudicated, and all the rest of these cases are he can't grant himself immunity because they're state cases. Except for maybe the federal cases. So that's, again, it goes back to the whole idea is, do you know? They can't allow that to happen. The thing is, this is right now. I know that people make fun of the Democratic Party. I know that they are talking about, how we're weak and how, we allowed, Biden to get on TV. And you're right. They probably knew it wasn't, I don't think it was an accident. I don't think, considering what we're seeing right now an accident. Was it an accident that nobody knew that Biden had a problem? Was it an accident that they allowed him to do a debate and he was going to look like, the way he looked? Was it an accident that they have allowed him to get on the camera and, basically, even look even worse? Is it to me, I don't think that it is much. It's the accident that we think it is. I really don't believe that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that there's a little bit more strategy to it. It's not like anybody that knew, and his people that have been around President Biden did not recognize the fact that him getting on television and debating would not be a good idea, and ultimately the country and the people in the party would call for him not to run anymore. I don't really believe that was an accident. I think that they probably wanted it because maybe it was there for a reason. Because how else could you call for a sitting president not to run anymore in light of really what was going on?
Yeah.
It's like, let me air out all of this in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then handle it on the back end. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Could he really just come out and just say, I'm not going to run anymore? What would have looked worse for him to say, due to health reasons, I'm not going to run again? Or would it have been better for him to come out and everybody see that he wasn't looking good?
Yeah.
I'm asking.
I think it was
I
better
just
for him
feel
to come
like-
out.
I think that behind doors, there's a lot that has to take place before he is able to even make that decision. And I feel like the ducks weren't in a row. I don't think, with everything going on with the party, I definitely do feel that the strategy dealt with figuring out who is going to step up. And are we really going to, go behind Kamala Harris when we have all these other candidates as well?
Right. That's what I think. I think that there was, I don't believe things are as much of an accident as they may appear to be, especially with something like that. Come on, you didn't know that was going to happen?
I felt it was going to happen.
And did they not know it was going to happen? He didn't have to do the debate.
Yeah, he didn't.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, and it wasn't like nobody knew that. Nobody said, "Oh man," you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, for me, I think that there was probably some some degree of strategy that went behind that, or it was like, did somebody just completely just drop the ball? It's one or two. And I tend to kind of lean more towards somebody knew that he had a problem and somebody knew it wasn't going to come out right.
Yeah.
And and everybody, I mean, and it wasn't like it was, I don't believe it was short-sighted. You know what I mean? I think that, now, is the Republican Party playing, does it seem like they're playing the game in a way that seems, that they're a little bit more aggressive? They got more of a strategy. They have a candidate. They probably picked, the dude that they picked as a vice president. It was, I mean, the guy's a Marine and a Harvard Law School graduate. I mean, was he a superhero?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
the wife of color.
Yeah, the wife of color.
Yeah. And so, his running mate was strategic. And the thing about it is that basically they have a problem on their hands. The party has a strategy, but they got a loose cannon as a candidate.
Correct.
Now, it's just like when he came on television and he began to start speaking at the RNC convention, he began in a way that was pretty nice, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden, he was nice. He was saying nice things. He was coming across very well, and he seemed like he was sticking to the script. Yeah. But at the end, then he started blasting everybody.
Yeah.
So it kind of like eventually it all comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if he was a smart guy, if he was smart, right, in my opinion, the smart move would have been, after that happened, because he talked about God, right? That was cool, right? Because God was looking out for him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So he gets out there, I would have said, and that made me reassess some things, and now I am going to unite this country.
Yeah.
So he could have taken it
Exactly. Yeah.
and really just took it and knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this dude really smart enough? I mean, I was a little. I'm like, if this dude is smart enough to knock this thing out of the park and start talking about uniting the country, and now he's done had this idea. He done had this, this come to if you Christian, come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
Then you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, it would have changed everything. Everybody like,
Yeah.
But instead, he started it out, and then all of a sudden, he couldn't help himself.
It was an eagle.
Yeah.
And then he ends it up with the same thing of just bashing everybody and saying negative things and whatever. So, I mean, it's like they can't control him. And are they going to be able to control him throughout this whole thing, or he basically is going to go off script? So, but it's just like the dude that's the vice president. He will not allow that guy. See, really, the guy although that guy used to criticize President Trump. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He said some really bad things about Trump.
Yeah.
Wow.
The video came up this week.
Yeah. So now Trump is the type of person, in my opinion, that's going to eventually get to him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's going to be conflict because he can't, he can't really be in a space and, he's not humble enough to be able to do that. He got this, to me, either he's a narcissist or he got a narcissist tendencies. But either way, it's going to blow up eventually.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that if he gets to a point where he gets into office, then that's why we're going to have a crisis, because it's just going to be, Trump in the White House Part 2.
With Congress in his favor, and
with
a red Congress as well, and
right,
yeah.
It's gonna be a revenge tour.
A revenge tour?
I think so. I think that it's like he won before. Of course, he went through all of, the legalities of everything, impeachment, everything like that. If he wins again, you're not going to be able to really tell him anything. Because he came back just as strong, talking just as crazy, and won again.
Yep.
And then gets to be like, y'all tried to kill me. he can basically just talk as much ish as he wants to, and I mean, you can't really say anything because he was able to convince all the supporters that he had before in the last election that he was a part of. And he's kind of, I mean, if we're going up the polls, he's swinging people now. Like, it's really hard to, you know, understand. I don't understand it at all, but, you know, he's swinging people still.
He said he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and kill somebody and he still have supporters. Did he say that, right?
Is that what he said?
And
Yeah,
gain
you remember
supporters
that?
because of it. And gain supporters because of it.
Wow.
He said that before. Don't y'all guys remember that?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Wow.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, he said he could stand on at Fifth.
Yeah, but what type of president is that to say something like that? You know, I mean, I'm along with Ryan when Ryan said, you know, I think this is going to go to his head. He get in that White House for a second term, man. Believe me, you think we seen something the first term, man. You can triple that because he's definitely gonna cause havoc.
I mean, what the reason why I mean, the question is you got to ask when you really ask this question. This is the interesting part. If you say, okay, like, I mean, people make up things. Like when you say, well, why you support Trump, and they'll say certain things like you know, like abstract stuff. You know what I mean? Like God sent them, and you know all this other stuff, right? But if you really sit down and you think, okay, what is it about Donald Trump that would make people support him so much, like, you know, blindly, almost like cult-like, right? What is the excitement behind, you know, this particular individual? And, you know, the reality of it is that, you know, I mean, of course, we got people on the fringes that have co-signed it. It's an anti-government, you know, it's a toss between anti-Barack Obama and anti, you know, other things that have happened within our government, right? But it's like it's really about it's a culture war, and it is an indictment on the fact that what we've been talking about all these years about the problems with this country, like the conspiracy theorists about how racist America is, or how people are more concerned about, you know, they see that they're slipping away as far as the status quo, and that he brings that back.
Yeah.
He brings back the culture of America because they feel like, and we've talked about this on the show on many different occasions, that the culture believes that, you know, we're seeing immigration.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing people, you know, we see people who are supposedly disenfranchised people, you know, gleaning some degree of power. You know what I mean? And that he's the anti of that. Right? So in other words, he's not going to get up there and, you know, and support some of these value issues or value problems that we've seen in the past, because we have a problem in this country right now with values.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We really do.
Yeah.
And so, but he's not really that answer. But we think, you know, but it's because of him that people go so far left. So it's almost like it's going to have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, you're going to have to create alliances with people that you normally wouldn't create alliances with to defeat him.
Yeah.
And it makes it even more difficult. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, that's kind of that's it in a nutshell. I mean, that's really what's going on. So we are. I mean, not that we've always been known as the, you know, the beacon of hope and prospering, and, you know, the land of opportunity and values and those sort of things. I mean, that's kind of how we sold America. And they feel like that he's somehow the reflection of that, but he's not. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, But there's bigger issues, man, that we got to deal with. But this going back to Kamala Harris. I mean, other than my prediction that they cannot allow him to become the president of the United States anymore, right? they the issue with her, and when I say her is Vice President Kamala Harris, is that she was pretty much, I mean, as far as him carrying her on the ticket, she was a non. People believe that she was a non-factor. Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, I tell you, just looking at how far we're in, the election is a few months away. Who else but her? You know, she's known for being our vice president, and everyone else, it takes time to build that legitimacy across the nation.
Well, my question when I say non-factor is I'm saying that does she really even bring anything to the table?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So, in other words, was she a factor in Joe Biden becoming a president?
Yeah. So, in other words, So when he ran, people saying that basically her only shining moment was the debate that she had where she talked about getting on the bus. You remember that when he talked about she was one of those kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But beyond that, is there anything that, does she galvanize people in a way that it unifies the party and excite people to go out and vote?
Not quite.
Not quite. No, I think to a small extent. I do.
You think so?
And I think that because I think a lot of people envisioned Michelle Obama when they saw her.
This is the one thing, though. This may be the thing that really helps her. If I was debating with Donald Trump, right? Joe Biden is a little bit too daggum nice.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, if I would have went to the debate, I would have walked in with handcuffs, and I would have pulled them out and showed them to him. And I would take that, and you know what I mean, like you know what I'm saying. I mean, if you that type of dude, then you could really do some damage.
Exactly, correct.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would say really, like those 32 felonies that you've been convicted of.
Yeah.
Right? Like the jury that found you guilty.
Yeah.
Right? You have no credibility, Mr. Trump. You've been convicted of fraud. Now, if you had somebody, if she really wants to get it, if she was able to hit him like that, then people are like, ooh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot there, but people aren't using it. We want to be statesman-like. Mm-hmm. But if she's going to go in and be hood, then she could do it.
Yeah.
Because there's so much there.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to come down to how she presents herself from this point on.
Yeah, if she was able to come in, if she went on, because I'm telling you, man, I'm serious. I mean, I think she should come in with some handcuffs.
She has to.
And bring them out and dangle them. It's like, how are you going to go out of the country because you're going to be a convicted felon and you're going to be on formal probation and you can't even travel outside the country? Who you going to travel with, your probation officer? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, if she's able to come out like that, I mean, that would change it. Joe Biden didn't have, that wasn't in him. You know what I mean? He's a statesman, so he can't get down like that. But if she's able, what was that, Ryan?
Well, I was just gonna say, I agree with that 100%, and I think also he has to lean heavily into the minority talk. Of course, don't try and pander too much, but you have to lean into the fact that you are black. You have to lean into the fact that you went to an HBCU. You have to lean into the fact that you're a woman, and all of that stuff.
And an AKA.
Right now, and an AKA, because that gives you a legitimacy that other candidates in the past haven't had. Joe Biden can talk about what I'm going to do for black people and stuff all the time, but at the end of the day, he's still an old, rich white man.
Right.
Kamala being black and coming up in black culture has to be a leaning point. And you have to throw that back in Trump's face about what he said about minorities, how he's dealt with women, you have an ability to talk about that and go at that angle from a way that we really never have seen before. Like, and you have to use what you have in your arsenal to your advantage.
Right.
But she definitely have to do it, and she definitely have to do it quick, fast, in a hurry because we're so close. And I think that she has to hit it real hard. If there's anything that's going to come out of this and it's going to weigh in her favor, she definitely, like I say, she have to do something unconventional.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
She's going to have to go at him.
Yeah.
I mean, she could. I mean, if you had somebody that's able to go up there and, like go at them, man. I mean, like you really give it to them because I mean they have all of this that they can deal with.
Yeah.
I would say the only thing that, like, what are you gonna do about the courts? Because basically you're gonna do nothing but occupy the courts with your cases. Mm-hmm. But I mean, can you explain to me why about those things? I mean, if you hit them like that, then because they're not. That's how they play their game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's because it's not no more about politics. It's about them thinking that the Democratic Party is weak, and that basically he thinks he's really a bully that can't fight.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I mean, the reality of it is that it's just like the bully that gets in and gets knocked out. And that's almost the way that you have to. That's what was happening with, Joe Biden. Because it's not enough to be a presidential anymore. Yeah. The gloves are off. You can say literally anything as a president of the United States. You can be a convicted felon. You can make fun of veterans. You can do all that, and nobody really cares. You know what I mean? And not to mention some of the other things that he said, like basically the things that he's done and said about women. So the thing is that you can take someone who is a family man who has family values, but you could take him who basically, he's a swinger. Yeah. And when I say swinger, like a dude that he date girls. You know what I mean? he has that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The complete opposite. But then he's so slick, he goes out there and takes a Bible and holds it up, and everybody loses their mind. You remember that? You remember that, Rosa and Ryan?
Yes, I do recall that.
I do.
Wow.
I do recall that.
Yeah, so that's what
so phony too.
It was so phony.
Wow.
So you got to get somebody that in other words, you're not dealing with, statesmanship and whatever. It's like that. Basically, we've already taken off the gloves. We already don't care whether the person has real values or not, even if it means we've lost sight of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that he covered that instead of speaking on it so much. I think he covered that by bringing in like the pastor that he brought in to speak at the RNC, and as well as all of the other celebrities that he brought in. And I think he specifically brought in the pastor to kind of cover that minority space right there, as well as that religious space. So instead of him speaking on it, he just brings someone on that actually supports him.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. But I think, I wanted to go back to the question that Ryan had asked. And I think the big question, the big concern for me is, as Ryan asked the question, as what does it look like? What does it look like after the fact? And I think we looking at right now what's going, we know it has to go either way, right? But we looking at, especially if it does not go in his favor, considering the fact that what happened in the past with the January 6th. And I think that his followers are more engaged now than they've ever been before. How does that look if he runs and he loses, or if he gets in office? How does it look? And I think that's the question right now that I really want to get answered as to moving forward.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. Just hearing from what his policy goals are, right? What does it look like in terms of immigration?
Yeah.
Increase funding for Custom and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. stricter immigration laws to reduce illegal immigration, merit-based immigration systems to prioritize skilled immigrants. In terms of the economy and trade, we have further tax cuts for individuals
Tariffs,
and
yep.
businesses. Trade policies, continued focus on renegotiating trade deals for favor of American interests per se, repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act, obviously increasing more of our military funding, more conservative judge appointments, and a more of a law and order, law enforcement agency aimed at reducing crime per se.
Yeah.
And of course, Second Right Amendment, protection of those gun rights.
Wow.
Yeah. That's gonna be interesting situation. But are we really even focused on the issues? Are most Americans really concerned about the issues? I mean, when we talk about the general voting community, what are the issues that we think that are really driving people away from Trump? I mean, away from the Democratic Party into the Republican Party. What are the real issues that we're really looking at? And are they realistic issues that we're really looking at? I mean, are these things that are really, for example, the huge issue is obviously, the cultural issues. But what are some of our Social Security? Is that an issue?
That's definitely
yes.
an issue.
Healthcare, is that an issue?
Yes.
Yes, I think also the aspect of having the token minority. I feel like a lot of people are awakened to the fact that the Democratic Party has promised a lot for minorities, including in this presidency, right, when it came to criminal justice reform, immigration reform. And none of that was done. So there's a lot of disillusionment from minorities with that, especially because we had, Kamala Harris come into play and people felt like they could relate, but the policies weren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Again, is it going to be any different between one? What is it that and let's just say, plays devil's advocate. What is it that Trump brought to the table during his administration that the Democratic Party will not or have not brought to the table? What are those specific issues?
I think people really do see him as the beacon of transparency, even though he's not transparent himself. But he almost outed the political world to the nation, letting them know, hey, this is what this is what happens underneath the table, per se.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are capitalizing on that, but aren't really thinking, well, is he really being truthful? They're not thinking about that. They're taking it verbatim.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, and I've heard this, several times, that we can appreciate someone that's going to come out and tell us how they're going to be, opposed to someone who's sneaky doing it without saying what they're going to do. And I think it goes back to what you said. I think you said years ago, where you talked about how it's like a relationship. After a certain period of time, when you in this relationship and the person doesn't give and give, then at some point they divorce. They get away from each other. And it goes back to what Rosa said when she said all of these things that was promised. But then what happened was, once you did these 4 years, all of the stuff that you promised didn't come to fruition. You fell back on it. So it's that relationship type thing where I think a lot of people was falling away from a Democratic Party based on the fact that the promises that was made, they didn't follow through with them. So and then it goes back to what I was saying, earlier on a couple of shows ago, that a lot of people are very neutral in this. A lot of people are to the point where they say, you know what, I'm not going to vote either way. And I think that there's a large segment of individuals that is like that. I'm not going to vote at all.
Yeah. I don't know. What you think, Ryan?
I mean, I just don't think there's any. I mean, it's tough to say right now because it got announced today, right? We're going to see how all this plays out this week. we've got the convention coming up, the Democrats soon. We'll see how they rally everything together.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see a lot of excitement in general. Like, and I really don't know what they can do to sort of just rally the supporters, like flip some voters. I really don't know. I am predicting, kind of like Bilal said, I'm predicting a lot of people don't vote, like, this time around. I really do. Unless something drastic happens, unless Kamala comes out talking the way you suggested she talks, I don't really have a lot of confidence in them in the next couple of months, but I hope they prove me wrong.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's definitely interesting. I mean, I just think that we're really, it's hard to figure out. I mean, I think that people are, it's unfortunate that we have only really two choices in this country. There's not ever really been any, with the exception of maybe Ross Perot, and is probably the one that gave, as far as a third party, probably the most viable. And then your boy, what's your boy's name?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. Now we're feeling the burn.
Yeah,
Who?
why not him? Yeah.
She could put him on the ticket as a
And
vice
bring more
president.
old folks back in. Bring the old guys back in.
Yeah, So, I mean, I don't think the party would allow it if he came in. But, but that's kind of like, so if you don't have any third parties that are going to be really viable or give them a run for the money, then, we're still stuck with two individuals. And those are really, and then a lot of people, it's become an issue where when you make a decision on who you're going to vote for, a lot of times there are really none issues. And sometimes people don't know why they're voting, and they're misinformed, even sometimes even by the parties, about why someone is going to be in your best interest. And then when you hear, like, if you ask the average person, why are you voting for, Donald Trump, then they're probably going to give you an answer because they've convinced you that he has power to change things that he doesn't have power to change, or that's not going to be really any different. Yeah. And then when I asked the question, what really happened during his 4 years that was really different from the last 4 years, what do we say? What is the real answer to that? I mean, we get more of the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't really change. I mean, as far as government, it's really the local government probably that has as much, if not more, of an impact on our day-to-day lives. But because, the president is seen as really like controlling the world or controlling. And so if we go back and we think about really what the importance of a president, then who is the statesman? You know what I mean? So, but going back to, does it really matter because they ain't going to let them win? Huh? They're not going to let them win. I'm telling you.
I hope you're right.
I'm telling you, in other words, what I'm saying is people got to understand something. You cannot, I'm just so disappointed, man, in our nation. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed. Some of the things that people like, I never thought any of that I would think, this is what I would think. I would think that if a bunch of people went up to the Capitol and bomb rushed the Capitol and a couple people get killed, I would think that it would unite our country against anybody that would do something like that.
You would think, yeah.
I would think that if a president got on television and criticized war heroes, I would think that it would unite the country against that person. Mm-hmm. But it basically is just, he doesn't stand for a united nation. He stands for a divided nation.
Right.
Exactly.
And the only thing that's going to happen, no matter what you think, no matter these little issues, if he gets into office, all you're going to see is more division, and a division that's ultimately going to destroy the country. Because the last thing that we need, no matter who the president is we're going to have unity.
Yeah.
If we don't have unity, man, it's a problem. Yeah. But at any rate, man, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't believe that.
Wow.
But at any rate, I want to thank everybody for tuning in for Justice Watch. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, same channel. And until that time, stay blessed.
News, weather, and talk from KCAA, broadcasting to the Moreno Valley, Corona, and Riverside.
Was your car involved in an accident or just need help with dents? All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers. In business for over 30 years. Their highly trained staff and certified technicians and friendly staff are the best in the business and treat each car as if it was their own. All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers are family owned and offer state-of-the-art equipment and tools to ensure optimum results. They use the latest technology in computerized color matching and specialize in frame repairs. With their modern laser measuring systems, they're OEM certified, and they have 4 locations to serve you. All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers offer rental car assistance with free drop-off and pickup services too, and their work has a lifetime guarantee. All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers are in Norco, Eastvale, Moreno Valley, and in Fontana. Call them at 1-800-61-MAGIC. That's 1-800-61-MAGIC. All Magic Paint and Body Collision Centers. 1-800-61-MAGIC. All Magic Paint and Auto Body says, drive carefully.
I'm Robert Manny, host of Guys Radio, heard Wednesdays at 8 and Sundays at 6 p.m. right here on KCAA. Guys Radio is the place where men and women can be at their best and everyone wins. We're here to inform you, inspire you, and empower you through the journeys, stories, and insights of the guests I bring you every week to the show. This is Robert Manny, host of Guys Radio, inviting you to join me Wednesdays at 8 and Sundays at 6 p.m. right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's Super Roth!
Okay, a gimmicky opening for a commercial about Super Roth Universal Life Insurance, but I'm sure it got your attention. Now, what is a Super Roth, you ask? It's a permanent indexed universal life insurance that's totally liquid and easily accessible once it matures. Can be used to supplement retirement savings or a death benefit, or both. Has no income or contribution limit. Has no 5-year rule like Roth IRAs. Has no 10% penalty for accessing the funds before age 59 and a half. Oh, and the average historical returns are 5 to 7% annually, tax-free. Super Roths also lock in gains, which means you don't lose your money when the market is down. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds super? Super Roths are the way of the future, specifically your future. To see if you qualify for a Super Roth, go online to thesuperroth.com.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is serving up some really cool ice cream at La Micho Acana. Then get your chocolates and other delights from C's Candies. Moms and future moms who visit the mall can cool off and relax while they get treated like royalty at Shiny Nails or Francis Nails and then pampered at Texture Hair. The Tri-City Center is filled with retailers who care about you. Shop at the Tri-City Center in Redlands and see why they call it the mall with a heart.
For over 75 years, the Marine Toys for Tots program has provided toys and emotional support to economically disadvantaged children, primarily during the holidays. But needs are not just seasonal, and now, neither is Toys for Tots. They've expanded their outreach to support families in need all year long, with their new programs, including the Foster Care Initiative, the Native American Program, and the Youth Ambassador Program. To learn how you can help, visit toysfortots.org.
Eat bread, lose weight. That's right. Eat bread, lose weight. Hello, everybody. I'm Joseph from Joseph's Organic Bakery. We offer ancient grain bread from the Bible. That's right. Ancient grain bread from the Bible. We stone grind daily, ferment using sourdough, and bake that same day. Everything is then shipped fresh to our customers nationwide. So if you're interested in feeling good, improving your digestion, knocking down your blood pressure, and balancing your blood sugar. Pick up the phone, give us a call, 954-541-4062, 954-541-4062, or you can order online, veganbakerymiami.com, veganbakerymiami.com.
This is an NBC News Radio special report. President Biden drops out of the presidential race. The White House says President Biden spoke to members of Congress after announcing his decision to end his 2024 re-election campaign. The president also addressed governors and other supporters after the announcement. The White House says Biden will continue to engage with key stakeholders tonight and tomorrow. Tennessee is the first state delegation to fully endorse Vice President Harris for president. During a conference call this afternoon, the 77 Democratic National Committee delegates from Tennessee voted unanimously to support her. The Democratic National Committee chair said his party will soon announce next steps for the nomination process, and it will be a transparent and orderly process. Recent polls are showing a close race between Donald Trump and Vice President Harris, should she be the nominee. A CNN poll of polls average showed Trump has 48% support, while Harris holds 47%. Third party or independent candidates were not included in the polling average. I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
You're listening to an encore presentation of this program, KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.
It's Guys Guy Radio. Here's your host, Robert Manny.
Welcome to Guys Guys Radio. This is your host, Robert Manny, welcoming you to the show where men and women can be at their best and everyone wins. Guys Guys Radio. We're here to inform you, inspire you, empower you, and get you to think, feel, and who knows, maybe even act by virtue of the journeys, stories, experiences, and insights of the guests I bring you each and every week to the show. And once again, this week is no exception. Today we're going to talk about how to succeed, if you're a guy, how to succeed in understanding and dating women over 50. And for all the guys out there and the guys who are entering, or whether they're boomers or millennials or kind of getting to the 50 age and past that, do you really think you understand women, how they think, what they want, how to connect with them, how to build a meaningful relationship with them? Have you changed your thinking over time? I know so many boomer guys who they think exactly the way they did when they were in college. They behave exactly the way they did when they were in college. They've worked hard. They've made money. They go out. They have their steak dinners, their bourbon. They've got their nice car and house. Fantastic. But have you really taken the time to adapt and evolve and understand the wonderful partners you have or may want to have out there? And I know a lot of people have been married, divorced, or some guys have never gotten married, and that's not that uncommon. It took me till over 50 to get married, but I'm glad I waited, and I've been married 14 years now, so very pleased about that because I waited, and it turned out to be a really good choice. But everybody's situation is different. But the point is, every day is another day on the journey, and every day is a learning experience, and men and women are not so different. We really need to learn from each other because over time, over the years, people change. And we want to keep up with that. And we want to be respectful and we want to listen. And we don't want to just solve other people's problems. It's easy for guys to say, oh, what's happened at work? And, oh, well, did you try this? Did you do that? It's not about fixing the car, fixing the engine for the women. It's about listening and supporting and active listening. We're going to get into all of that with my special guest, Silke Schwarzkopf. Silke is the host of the very successful YouTube show, Second Act TV. It's all about issues, dating, relationships, and more stuff for people over 50. The audience on Silke's show is surprisingly mixed between men and women and everybody else, and it's a terrific show. Silke's a terrific guest. She's gathered so much information by her interviews with so many dating experts, men, women. I am a regular contributor to the show, so you can catch me on Second Act TV on YouTube on a regular basis, and I love having Silke back to our show to get into relationship issues and as we age. Because, listen, the bedrock of Guys Radio and Guys the brand has began with my source material, which is my novel, The Guys Guide to Love, which is about a sexy romp through the fast-moving, high-stake world of Madison Avenue advertising. It's about men and women in New York competing for love, sex, power, and money, and it's all about relationships. And that was the beginning of our brand, and we kept growing. We've been growing and growing and growing. We're going to get into all of that and more with a very profound conversation with Silke Schwarzkopf from Second Act TV right here on Guys Radio.
It's Guy Radio.
Okay, Guys Radio. It is the interview portion of our show, and I'm delighted to bring back one of our favorite guests on Guys Radio, my friend and colleague, the host and producer and creator of that lightning rod YouTube show, Second Act TV, all about dating, relationships, and all other things for people over 50. Welcome back to Guys Radio, Silke Schwarzkopf. How are you, Silke?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Robert, for that intro. Love it.
Fantastic. Well,
and I have your book sitting right here. See?
Even better. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Silke's been wonderful supporting my work, inviting me back repeatedly to be I'm a regular on the show on Second Act TV, and we love having Silke on our show. And whenever Silke graces us with her presence, the numbers go up. So we've got a great topic for you today. Today we're going to talk about, and this is for both the women and the guys, but it's really about, I want to dig into, based on Silke, your expertise in all of the female dating coaches and experts you've spoken to over the last couple of years, and also your own personal journey and your own personal experience about what men really need to know about creating a successful relationship with a woman over 50. So this is for guys to pay attention, and this is for women to kind of get the word out there and really be very clear, because, things change. Some things don't change, but also things do change also. And when you get to 50 years old, it's a different experience for a guy, I think, than for a woman. We're all aging, of course, but the considerations, the way women look at themselves, the way women look at relationships, the way men look at themselves and their relationship could be very different, even though we're all human and there's a lot of similarities. But I think this is going to be a great discussion. So let's get into it, Silke. Let's start off with just a big issue for, of course, if you've been 50 and above, you've been around for a while. You've been in and out relationships, and money has always been an issue. Everybody manages money a different way. What are your experts and what's been your experience in terms of what do men need to know about women's perspective on money? Guys, a lot of times they define themselves by their money. I don't think women do that. But they like if the guy has money, and if he doesn't have money, that's never a good thing for anybody. But overall, I think sometimes the wires get crossed in terms of the perspective on money and how we manage it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. The wires get crossed a lot, and really the short answer to that, it just depends on where the woman is in life. There's horror stories about men leaving, leaving them for a younger woman, literally when they supported, their man the whole life, and they raised the kids, and now boom, he's out. Those stories are true. I don't play into those, or I should say support it. That's we really want what I want to make myself better, or I'm leaving for to better my life. That's good for both of us, to where those sorts of scenarios don't play out. I just want to acknowledge that there are situations where it's important for a woman, if she was left stranded, to find a way to either support, or and if there's a man, if there's a great relationship that could be built, if they're trustworthy, then yeah. However, having said that, money at this point, well, like somebody like myself, I'm by no means wealthy, but I pay my bills, I do what I want, etc. I could care less how much money the man has, as long as he can take care of himself and as long as we can live a lifestyle that we both want, or that I want, to where money doesn't become an issue on decisions that we make or what we can do or not do, because that's when the whole male female dynamic gets into play into a relationship that can cause issues. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like from what you're saying is that you have, each relationship is different, and you have to find kind of a comfort zone with your partner in terms of what the money means, what's enough money.
Right.
So in other words, if your expectations of the woman are, I had a rich husband, maybe he left me, whatever, and I'm used to, rolling. I'm used to the high life, and a new guy, he doesn't have the money. That could be problematic because maybe his expectation, he doesn't travel as much, etc. You have to find something that there's some synchronicity, that it works, a simpatico situation. But if you both come from kind of a similar situation financially, that can make it easier. And then the wild cards are always, everybody handles money differently, and often in relationships, and it couldn't be a relationship killer where one person manages money, they spend all the time, and the other person invests all the time, and it can get to be a sticking point at a certain area, because it's a real thing. We deal with money. We make decisions about money. I'm going to buy this, or I'm not going to buy it, or I'm going to buy this, or I'm going to buy that. But we have to buy stuff, and money is an energetic exchange, but it's happening all the time, every day. So if you're not in the same place as your partner, it's going to become obvious pretty quickly.
Right. No, it will, and it can be a real issue. Interestingly enough, the issues tend to be more if the woman has more money than the guy. I've been dealing with that with friends, certainly very close friends, as well as just comments that we have from some regular viewers who are dating women, who have substantially more money, and they're successful men, but they're dating a woman with substantially more money, and what that brings into the psyche. So I don't know. That's more rare, I think. But I think the big misconception is that women, always are after money. That is absolutely not true. That is just not true. Yes, are there gold diggers out there? Yeah, of course. Are there men out there that want to, nurse with a purse? Those people are all out there. We get that. But money at this point in life is not a motivating factor for happiness. Certainly not. You need to pay your bills, yes, but beyond that, it's an end or means to an end.
Great response. A lot of insights there. How about the need for women? Of course, men have their needs in this area also, but the need to be heard, where sometimes the dynamics of a relationship are like one person talks all the time about themselves and the other person is supportive. And over time, it can be stifling. And a lot of times the one who's talking about themselves all the time doesn't even realize that, and they could have a heart of gold, but they don't realize that they're putting their partner in that type of situation. Tell us about the importance and the dynamics of women over 50 needing to be heard, and what they can do to make sure that happens. Because you don't want to get into it. If you're over 50, you don't want to be stifled. It's like you want to let it all hang out at that point.
Yeah. Well, that whole, we can spend a whole segment on needing to be heard or wanting to be heard. And that goes both ways, men and women. I think it's more pronounced in women sometimes because men aren't, in general, again, we're generalizing, aren't as good a listeners, so they don't even want to talk. Women tend to express their emotions by talking. Talking is just a big part of what we do. And if the man shuts us off, then that becomes an issue. So when you have a guy who actively listens, I think is the word that's now being used, and just makes you feel like he's hearing what you're saying, engaging in conversation. It's so easy to do. You can almost fake it. I'm not saying to fake it, but it literally is that easy. Just listen and okay, well, how tell me more about that.
Yeah, exactly. Repeat what they're saying. So you're unhappy about that. So that made you feel,
Yeah. The worst thing, and it's, I think probably everybody's heard it a million times, but when right away you get a fix, or well, maybe you should do this, maybe you should, it's like, okay, I'm not asking you to fix anything. I just listen to me. Mm-hmm. So just in general, over 50 or not, I think that is an issue, yeah, between men and women. That's probably never going to go away because we're just wired, I think. Anyway, this is Silka's opinion, and others I know believe it as well, but I think we're just wired that way. And it's more of an awareness that you can then, cater to or understand versus changing anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the wiring could be culturally what's happened, how we've been raised. It's not like we're different beings per se. I think we've been pushed to be more different than men and women are culturally, how we're raised and what's happened over the decades and even centuries to bring us to where we are right now. And a lot of changes are going on very rapidly that are long overdue right now. It's creating even more chaos, but more opportunities to really be a better listener. Now, as part of that, I told the story about paying attention that my wife, before we were married, said, pay attention. That's the only thing. Yeah. How can men, I guess it's actively listening, how can they pay attention to make the woman know that he's actually paying attention? Like what we just talked about, you don't want the guy to be patronizing, like, yes, I understand, keep going. And then they really think they're looking at their phone, right? How can men really pay attention?
Well, I think, looking the woman in the eye. I mean, it's not brain surgery, it's how to pay attention to someone. You brought up a great example right now, when on the phone. Like Paul, for example, he has a horrible habit of that, which is, it's because he needs to be on the phone a lot. He gets calls all day. He's in sales, and he needs to respond quickly. So it's a habit that I understand, but it also goes over in the personal life. So if you are someone that is tied to their phone, be aware that if that's not the situation, or even if you can put the phone aside for just a few minutes, that right there, especially if the woman is used to you being on the phone, will tell or show that you're listening. And again, that goes for men and women too. Women are on their phone all the time as well. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, great point. And so we experience this every day, and a lot of times we're so entrained by the phone nowadays that we don't even realize that we're doing it, because our brains have learned to bifurcate to the point where I hear what you're saying and I'm checking out to see if the Padres won last night. Yes. You can kind of do both, but it's not right. It's not showing the respect for your partner. Silka Schwarzkopf, my very special guest on Guys Radio. Silka is the host of that big hit on YouTube, Second Act TV, all about relationships and dating and everything for folks over 50. It's a runaway hit, and I love being a guest on the show. Next topic, one of our favorites that we cover is sex. Obviously, everybody has their own mechanism, their own journey sexually, and you have to be in sync with your partner. And it doesn't always happen immediately the first time that you're perfectly in sync. But from what you've heard, and you don't have to get into your personal experience, but from what you've heard about the experts, does the dynamic and importance of sexuality and sex change for women over 50? Because there is a misconception, I think, where some people think like, oh, women over 50, they've gone through menopause, they're not into it anymore. I would strongly disagree, based on my own personal experience, that not all of them are the same. Not all of them stay up like are little horn doggies like myself, but some of them are, regardless of age. And I think a lot of it is how you're individually wired. But is there some overarching truths that you can share with us that you've heard about, sex, and how men need to know about women's sexuality changing as they age?
Well, so it's no secret that we all change, that stuff happens to our bodies with our hormones changing for men and women as we age, and that's something we need to be aware of. With men it's ED, with women it's vaginal atrophy, and those that can run havoc to any relationship or new relationship if you don't understand what's going on. So we spend a lot of time talking about that. I have some great videos on understanding vaginal health, understand how to deal with ED, etc. So that's one. Sexual dysfunction is one part of that equation. When you ask me about libido, that's this is it the $60,000, $100, whatever question it is, that is hugely debated. Where men, oh no, women lose their sex drive, and those are usually men that have been in a relationship for very long and they're not having sex, or their wife doesn't want to have sex anymore. Well, there's a lot of reasons she may not be having sex with you that they would not want to admit. That and as hard as it is to hear, maybe for some people, that same woman that's not having sex with you, she'd be hopping in bed with somebody else with the relationship with. And this happens all the time, where women over 50 are just re-energized by having gotten out of a relationship. And again, the same is true for men, I'm sure, that leave for younger women. So the whole losing interest and losing libido is largely tied to the amount of interest you have in the person that you're with, in my opinion.
I think that's a great response. I agree 100%. A lot of times guys have to, if their wife doesn't seem as, up for it as they are, maybe it's you, buddy. Have you asked yourself, am I romancing her? So what I want to ask about is the importance of romance for women over 50. I would think it's even more important for women are under a lot of pressure, particularly body pressures and things like that as they age. Their bodies change. Men's bodies change too, but I think it's a little more straight line with guys. They're going to get the belly or they're not, but the rest of them, maybe they lose their hair or whatever, and sometimes that can be sexy. Hey,
Absolutely.
But women are under pressure because their bodies change, and guys have to realize that they have competition from the young gals. Their bodies are changing, so they're not going to look the same way. And to me, it becomes all that more important for a woman to hear their guy tell them, you look great, not just in the bedroom if they're all dolled up or whatever, but just on a regular basis, that's important to hear, because it's an acknowledgement of, oh, he's not, he knows I'm changing, but he still finds me beautiful. That to me is huge and very important for a woman to hear.
Well, again, this is such a huge subject we could talk about forever, the whole body image of as you age and what men should or shouldn't say. Gosh, I've had experts on that I don't even agree with. It's a very touchy topic. Very touchy topic. I think on one sense, we all change. We all change, our bodies change. But I think with the pressure that you refer to, we put on ourselves, or we allow to have that put on ourselves from, externally, from what the media says and what you should look like. And, the whole thing with aging, that, young is better than old and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of people out there, including, us, that are working on changing that. Then, the competition from younger. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, the way I look at it, there's beautiful, older women who are fit, these are people who take care of themselves. That if you are unhappy with the way you look, and it's not something that you can't control, there's things we can't control, certain diseases, certain changes to our body. I mean, don't even want to get into the whole, mastectomy, and there's so many. That definitely is a different subject that we actually will be covering very closely in upcoming episodes. But if it's something you can control, you don't have any competition. You know how many, and I hate using the word attractive, but people who are out of shape, not at their best when they're young, that it's, I don't know. I'm trying to actually take age out of it and just be the best you can be, and to where you can have confidence and present yourself with confidence, because that is the most attractive, I think, in anyone.
Would you agree that it's important, though, to that each person take it upon themselves to be the very best they can be? I don't mean, that you have to be, physique competitor, but you at least you want to, do what you need to do to keep yourself. Listen, your body can change, particularly for women, but you can use the new shape that you have and sculpt it, quote unquote, into something that really works for you, and you can become super beautiful by doing that. It's like working with what you have and then making sure the guy appreciates the fact that I'm not the 20-year-old version of me, but look at this version of me is actually better. I find sometimes if I see, and I look at the menu now and then, I'm guilty as charged. I notice other women. I'm in Southern California. It's like Lululemon on parade wherever I go. And I think some of these women over 40, over 50 who are like really rocking, taking care of themselves. Wow, to me, that's sexier than a 22-year-old, because I know that they know what they're doing in a lot of different areas in life. And that to me is sexy.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think, being the best you can be is not necessarily just how your body looks, but how you feel. To me, the most important thing is you have to be healthy. I mean, let's face it, some of us care more about outward appearance than others. And ultimately, it really comes down to what is inside. But the outside does frame the way we feel about ourselves. So in that sense, be the best you can be so you can feel good. So when you go out, you feel good, whatever that is to you. That's what I think needs to be accomplished.
Let's talk a little bit about when we get over 50, the whole retirement aspect, the work dynamic changes, and one person might retire early. I have friends who are and just hit 70 and they're still working, throw the tie on, commute, and they're happy as clams. And I'm like, okay. And I have other friends who dropped it when they hit 60 and they're happy also, playing golf down in Florida, whatever. Everybody's different. I think it's important in a relationship to have, again, the money dynamic, but the perspective on what is retirement, and what do your retirement years look like individually and as a couple?
Huge, big topic, especially if you're starting over after 50. Because at that point you can control, if you will, or at least have more control about who, how you go forward and who you choose. When you're married, and all of a sudden one of you retires, or both of you, or whatever the situation is, it can change drastically, in the household, as it did in my marriage. All of a sudden he was home all the time, and it was horrible because he was controlling by nature anyway. And now, anyway, when I'm going to talk about my marriage, but the dynamic absolutely changes in retirement. And it's so important to be on the same page about what that looks like and what you want to do. To me, is staying active, whatever that looks like. If playing golf every day is going to make you happy, that is your path, do it.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I'm going to do second act, until they put me in the ground. Well, I don't want to go on the ground. I want to be cremated, but the
shows will live on. The shows will live on.
With me, and I can't imagine ever not doing that because it is my passion. And a lot of people have wonderful hobbies or talents or skills that they can now indulge in, given that, financially you can swing it, which obviously that's a big part. But yeah, retirement, I think probably the best advice is just don't you have to think about what it's going to look like and remain active, because there's statistics, especially for men, that after they retire within 2 years, they have a heart attack. I mean, I'm not quoting exactly, but look it up. There is your whole being, your whole image is associated with that, and that's something that would be difficult. Don't let that happen, because a woman can't change that either. Again, or vice versa. We have to be happy with ourselves in retirement, or it could be miserable.
As part of that, I would think that a discussion needs to take place, or at least an ongoing conversation about, not like where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, but I think couples, whether they're new couples or long-term couples, need to share their perspectives on retirement. So one person's not saying, get a job, all right. That's the last thing anybody wants to hear from their partner.
Right.
Or they have like, I want to travel. And the other person is, well, we don't have enough money. And you get into those uncomfortable discussion. So I think it's incredibly important for people to have an ongoing conversation about what retirement means to them. How do they define the years coming up, and how they want to live them together? That's huge, and that's part of communication. Where a lot of times in a relationship, and we touched on it earlier about paying attention, but sometimes guys don't want to talk about stuff unless a lot of times, in my opinion, guys are cool with everything, and if they're not, they're going to say something, and then they're going to wait for your response, and they're going to listen to it, and they might give you a little pushback, and then if they figure, well, that's what she thinks, I'm going to keep going, and that's a form of male communication sometimes, unfortunately, but that's kind of how we roll sometimes. How, as we age and women get over 50 and have older guys, how can women help open up the discussion so to get the male to be more communicative?
I don't have no idea.
And that's the question, folks.
You raise a great point. I think what popped in my head when you asked me that question is that men often claim that they were blindsided by things, especially if the woman is unhappy. You try to communicate, shuts her off, and then all of a sudden is, oh, I didn't see it coming. It's like, how could you not see it coming? How could you not see it coming? And then if you do examine what you did, maybe you couldn't. Maybe and again, I don't know what those answers are. These are as we talk about this to me is another awareness topic that I don't think we're ever going to change. We're never going to fix. We just have to be aware that this might be happening, or that, as you know, man, maybe I need to pay attention to this a little bit more. Maybe she was serious here, and women need to be more direct. And I'm pointing at myself here because I have a hard time doing that. It's almost like, well, he should know.
Exactly. Hey, I've been hit with that.
Well, no, maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he should. I don't know. But I'm guilty of a lot of the stuff that we talk about, and I admit that freely. I'm not putting out advice and being that I don't take myself, even if I don't take it. I'll let you know, like I am right now.
Okay. My special guest on Guys Radio, the wonderful, dynamic, compelling, insightful Silke Schwarzkopf, creator, producer, and star of Second Act TV, the runaway YouTube channel hit. We're talking about what men need to know about women's perspectives over 50 so they can have successful relationships. So one dynamic that seems to be happening, particularly for folks over 50, is this idea of like sharing a bed, sharing a room, sharing a bedroom, sharing a bed, or sharing a home even, where people are doing things individually, and maybe they get together when they want to get busy, but they may not have the same sleeping habits. They may not want to wake up facing their husband and his 3-day stubble every morning, and they want their own time, and or they don't even want to live in the same house because of logistics or whatever. What do you do?
Well, this is a big movement now. I've done several videos on it. Matter of fact, one of the experts I've had on, Vicki Larson, just wrote another book about it. LAT, L-A-T, living apart together. It's a whole new thing where we realize that, it is tough to live with someone. And couples have actively chosen to be committed in committed relationships, but maintain separate residences. Paul and I actually did that for like 8 years. We've been living together now for the last 2, but that was great. That worked great. And I think it has kept us together all these years, to where we knew more what to expect when we moved in together. But yeah, that's a big thing. Again, you can just Google it. LAT can read all kinds of things about it, and to where they do it successfully. Now, I have to say it works better when you're starting out fresh. When you're meeting someone, you said, hey, I love you. I want to be with you the rest of my life. Let me keep my place here, and then we'll take turns or whatever, because you're building that relationship. There's couples that try it, almost like, it's more like a separation when you do it in a marriage. And all of a sudden, you know what, I need my own place. That's usually, in my opinion anyway, more of the beginning of the end than a creating a relationship that can work that way. But everybody has to judge that, for themselves. I certainly, don't hold all the information on that.
Well, it's interesting because as a boomer guy, I was dating somebody who was close to my age, younger, but not, just I don't know, 5 years younger or so. And we were getting serious, and her perspective was like, live in different places or not sleep in the same room and this and that. And at the time, I've changed now. I didn't like that because I think it was my upbringing. Like if you're going to make the commitment to be together, then be together. To me, if she's living there and I'm living here, maybe I'm not dating anybody else, but that means I'm dating. That means I'm not living together. So talk to me about that, and also about the whole concept is, what have you heard is the importance or not of marriage for women who've been through life and they're over 50 and they've maybe been in a marriage that didn't work or they were a widow or whatever. Is it important? Is it like, because everybody wants, I think most people would like to have the experience of like knowing what it's like to be married.
I agree with you there that most people, especially women, at some point, not everybody by any means, and that is really changing. That has really changed, the need to get married. I come from a very strong perspective on that, because I was married twice. I was in a 25-year marriage and then a real quick one at the beginning for 6 months, call it my practice marriage. I will not get married again. And Paul doesn't want to get married. He was married for 10 years and he has, 3 kids who we love. I mean, we've got a great situation, and marriage is absolutely not necessary. To me, the marriage, and this is maybe the key here, is that it's the perspective, just like what you described, is that to me, well, if we're not living together, we're not together, we're dating, to where to me is like marriage can ruin a relationship. And I'm just as wrong or right about that as you are with your perspective. And so we each have to really think about what does marriage mean? What does it really mean to us? I mean, ultimately, it's just a legal document that can cause a lot of
pain.
Well, I mean, there's some protection.
Financial pain.
But it's financial. Yeah, you're bringing the state, the government, into your relationship. Is that necessary? And yeah, to me, it isn't. And there's a lot of women, especially, that feel that way right now too. There is that perception. Oh yeah, they just want to get married. Every woman's looking for a husband, and that is absolutely not true, especially with older women. Okay. They were like kind of done. They want that committed relationship. They want the romance. They want all the good stuff, but not what, for them, again, the perspective, what marriage had meant to them.
Okay. How about like starting out? If you see and meet or run into or are introduced to whatever, or even you're in Sprouts and you want to meet, you see a woman like looking at the cucumbers or something and you get turned on, whatever it is. What's the best way for guys to approach women over?
In the cucumber aisle?
Or maybe it's in the watermelon aisle. I don't know.
Oh, that's so funny. The best way to approach, again, that's the $65,000. I think that's what it was, $65,000 question. What, for 64? Whatever. It's so hard now for men because of all these new rules and are you being harassed, etc. It's really tough for men right now. I mean, you just have to be. I think, and we've done videos on that as well, that it's really upon the women to help men approach, send some signals to where that this, it's okay. I wouldn't mind talking with, and that's so easy to do. It's just a simple smile, looking at the eye, maybe, hey, an acknowledgement, something that somebody can react to, because approaching a woman in public right now, it is problematic. I get that. I get that. It's easier to give advice on that, like on dating sites, because everybody's there to date. You're not risking maybe approaching someone who not only isn't interested, but is not available. well, they may not be available, but they're there to be approached and to find someone. In that sense, I probably have better advice than in real life, or IRL as it's now called. I would say join groups that like social groups, and to where there's a reason for conversation. One of the best ones right now, and I'm actually doing a video on that next week, is pickleball. There's now pickleball dating. It's crazy. People are meeting, and like the public courts, they're turning into that's the new bar scene. And I'm interviewing the founder of Pickleball Dating over 50. Believe
That's
it or
awesome.
not, there's
I
a
love
site
it.
that caters just to that. And here you're put in a situation where you have to talk. You have to talk, and you get to know each other in so many things that you ultimately wouldn't. Competitive you are, how supportive you are, how you see yourself. Can you laugh at yourself? There's so many ways and activities such as that can help form a relationship versus a cucumber aisle. I wouldn't almost I know people disagree with me there. I mean, sometimes you have a good reason to approach in like in a grocery store or so. As a matter of fact, one of my best friends, they got married. They're now married. They met at Costco. She said, we didn't meet online. We met in line.
Yeah, I can. You know what?
Yeah, they were waiting, and the register tape was running out. And anyway, so it caused a delay. And 10 years later, here they are. But those are more rare, I think. Maybe the advice there is don't close yourself off to something that might just be open, look at people, smile, and then it makes it a lot easier for someone to approach you.
It's interesting, and I was thinking about this because I can be as clueless as the next guy. I was online at Costco the other day in the return line. I had a broken crate, one of these big plastic crates that they sell. And this woman in front of me had the whole workout outfit on and attractive. And she turned around, she's talking to me. And I figured, okay, broken crate. And she's telling me about her broken crate that she's had and blah, blah, blah. I figured, okay. And I think we covered the broken crate. I'm thinking okay, no, they kept talking and talking and talking. And finally she was ahead of me. So she had to go off. So I'm like, did I miss something there? So anyhow, I return my crate. I'm in the store and I see her kind of in my area. And then I'm in another area and the same thing. And then finally, I meet up with my wife and son, and she kind of veers by and passes by, and I'm like, was that woman interested in me, or am I completely clueless? And the question is, how can women approach guys then? If the guys need signals, which I obviously wasn't reading, and I'm not in the market anyhow, how what's a good way for a woman? I mean, I didn't have my ring on, and I was there by myself returning a crate, and maybe she thought, hey, he looks all right, and he's halfway articulate. Maybe maybe he's in the game. I don't know.
That's really a great example. I've had some similar experiences, to where it's like, I think that he was trying to start a conversation. We don't think about it now because we're not looking for that. But yeah, that's the way to do it. Like what happened with me was I was in the cheese aisle. And somebody started a conversation. Oh, now do you get that? No, do you do this with that? And how about and kept talking to me about this shredded cheese. And then it kind of hit me afterwards was he didn't want to talk about shredded cheese. So, but that's a great way, if you're comfortable doing that, there certainly is, what can you talk about with in the situation that you're in now.
That's organic, right?
That's organic. Yeah. Exactly.
Because the worst case scenario, it's a conversation. You can be comfortable just to have, like, I responded to this person and I was like, okay, yeah, broken crates. I get it. Costco's great about taking returns. Okay. But, I didn't read the tea leaves on it. Maybe I'm just being like ego, like, oh, she was interested in me and it was completely random. I have no idea. But this is, I'm a guy. So we don't, with the signals, you have to really clonk us on the head, the cucumber or whatever, to let us know that you're interested. So I was just curious as to, like, how do women deal with that? Because women are so perceptive and so on it. And a lot of times guys are in their, walking around in their own world.
Yeah, I think women can be kind of walking in their own world too. I agree with
Can
you
they
that.
say? Can they say, "Hi, I'm Alice"?
No, well, I mean, if they want to be that direct, I wouldn't do that. I can tell you, I could strike up a conversation and to where, hi, I'm Silka, would be much later. That to me would be, I would be uncomfortable doing that, and I could start a conversation with anybody, but to introduce myself, probably not. That can be kind of. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Makes perfect sense. Yeah,
mhm.
I think you're completely right there. So taking that a little bit further, the topic of kind of introductions and all that. First date, where the women over 50, do they feel like, okay, he's not picking up my signals, I'm just going to ask him out. Have him come over for dinner, or we'll go out together, and I'll be the quote unquote aggressor or first mover. What's their perspective on that? It's like, otherwise, if I wait around for this guy, I may be waiting until I'm Mick Jagger's age.
Yeah. Well, he's looking pretty good. So
I know,
who
he's
knows?
doing
Yeah. No, absolutely. Ask him out. If that's what you want, you're comfortable with it, and then you're opening yourself to the same quote unquote rejection, that men have had all their lives. I didn't mean to come off negative there. I'm saying, yeah, absolutely. If it's somebody you want to go out with, you've already met them, he's not, getting it or not moving forward, and you're wondering why. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you know what? I'd love to have you over for dinner. I'd like to take this. Maybe we can talk about this, over a drink or something. Or pickleball. But
shred some cheese, right?
Yeah, shred some cheese. But no, there's nothing wrong with the woman making the first move and asking a man out. I think after that, there's, that's a whole other conversation too, is, allow the man to be the aggressor and be in his male energy versus, staying there and being the dominant force in the relationship. But like I said, that's a whole other conversation.
I have found when we're talking about the next step after that, let's say the date goes good. I have found with the older women, and I don't mean old, but just older, more mature, savvy, when it comes to like making the next step happen, they're pretty much boom, right out there. There's no like, they just let it's pretty obvious. It's like, let's go.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I would say that's true. One of the mistakes that I made in the beginning, I was too much like that. I mean, I did approach first online, either sent a wink or something. I mean, I was very proactive. And I think that worked. I had lots of dates, and for the most part, had what was fun. And then when we hit it off, I would maintain that, and that didn't work real well. I literally ran some guys off. And when looking back at it now, it's kind of funny, really. Okay. So there again, it's sad when you're starting over again. You really don't know. People say that. Wisdom comes with age. Yeah, in some things, yes. But I think when it comes to matters of the heart, you're kind of stuck where you left off. In for me, really the high school and college years.
Amazing. So I think that's actually a perfect place for us to leave off because we're running out of time. Another fast, fruitful, frothy conversation with the Guy's Guy and Silka of Second Act TV. So thank you so much for being back on the show. I think there's a lot of really insightful comments there, things that everybody can learn. The women can agree or disagree with. The guys can say, you know what, I never thought of that. So thank you for helping out. Thank you for being back on the show. Thank you for having me on the show, and all the best. I'll see you soon.
Absolutely, Robert, and thank you for all your support. Appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you again soon on Second Act TV.
There you go.
It's Guys Guy Radio.
Okay, that was a fun, insightful, provocative conversation once again with the friend to Guys Radio, the amazing Silka Schwarzkopf from Second Act TV. I'm so pleased and so appreciative of Silka joining us on a regular basis on Guys Radio to really lend some insights into what dudes need to know about women, especially when they're dating and in relationships over 50, because it's easy to just keep going along and not learning anything new. And as Silka mentioned during the interview, which I think is a key takeaway, is so many guys in relationships get blindsided and they get dumped. It's happened to me, and from the female perspective, it's like, how could you not see this coming? And from my perspective and a lot of other guys' perspectives, like, what do you mean? You didn't tell me that it was too late. You didn't tell me about this or that. And, it's a combination thing where sometimes women think guys should be more perceptive than they are. And they're right. Yet, because we're the way we are, it's important for women to be more articulate, more clear about, more direct about, hey, this relationship is on the rocks. You really need to hear me out and listen and process and make the changes necessary to keep me in the game with you. And that's really important. I think that's what it's all about. That's the key takeaway today, and usually all the time when it comes to relationships. It's whatever type of relationship you're in, listening, active listening, paying attention. Women are great at paying attention. They pay attention to details, little stuff. How many times have your partner, your female partner, said, "Oh, what's wrong? Are you having a bad day? How about this?" Guys rarely are that sensitized to paying attention to their partner, where they pick up the little things and are really there for them that way. And I think men, let's face it, we got to do a better job, because women deserve it, and we can change, we can evolve, because we have a lot to offer. And you know what? Guys still finish first. So we really want to do a better job of paying attention to women, and particularly when we're over 50, because the clock's ticking and we want to make things happen in a really good way for everybody. And all the rules seem to have changed, where there's so many different ways to have relationships now, and it's all good. And we just want to keep up with the game, keep up with the program, sharpen our skills. It's like anything else. First, we learned how to do computers. Now we're learning AI. You got to keep up. That's how our world works. So, Guys Radio, we're here every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific time on KCAA Radio in Southern California. 8 p.m. Pacific time at 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. The show rebroadcasts on Saturday and Sunday evenings on KCAA in prime time. The show is available on their app and all of their social media and all of their online platforms. You can catch Guys Radio. But bottom line is, we're on KCAA in prime time 3 times a week if you want to listen to us live. The podcast, YouTube, and Rumble versions of Guys Radio drop on Thursday. If you want to watch the show, you can watch us on YouTube and Rumble. We're also on UK Health Radio all weekend long, 4 times every weekend, plus on demand. And it's the world's largest health talk station, and it's digital. So you can catch it on your computer, and you can listen to our show whenever it's convenient for you. I also write a column for UK Health Radio's digital magazine. It's subscription-based. It's called Health Triangle Magazine, and I write a column called Aging is a Choice, about kind of that negative narrative we've been given on aging, which I think is really important for folks 50 plus. And also, I share a lot of things that I've learned and I've been taught along the way from my guests and friends and experts along the way to help me stay as young and vital as possible. You never know what can happen, but if you don't put in the work, nothing's going to happen. So doing my best to share that information with you. I also move a lot of those articles onto my website, robertmanni, MANNI.com. There's over 300 blog posts about life, love, the pursuit of happiness, all the topics we cover here on Guys Radio, as well as the columns from UK Health Radio's Health Triangle magazine ultimately end up on my website, and you can read them there. So check it out. And while you're on my website, you can download 3 free chapters of my novel, which I mentioned earlier, The Guy's Guide to Love. It's been called the men's successor to Sex and the City. It's fun, it's fast, it's frothy, it's a perfect beach read. Yet it's about something. It's about 350 pages long, and it's a real story, and it's got a lot of layers and subtext and also subplots to it, and some really interesting characters. We've got savvy men, savvy women, flawed men, and it all comes together in a way that I think you'll enjoy. And you can check out the reviews on Amazon and every place else. And again, 3 free chapters, and then you can pick up the digital copy or physical copy of the book where you buy your books. So we've got it all there for you each and every week. I love doing the show. I've interviewed over 700 thought leaders from so many different areas of expertise, all in an effort to bring you the best information to help you live your best life. I've gotten the education at the same time you're getting the education out there, so we're learning together, and I, as your advocate, am asking the questions that hopefully you want me to ask to extract the information from our guests. I don't like to conduct interviews. I like to start out with kind of an interview setup, and then I want to get into a conversation and think of it as, let's say I was sitting on a train with this guest and we were going cross country, or we had a 4-hour ride or whatever, and we're going to be talking on and off or just on, and really get into some subjects about what they are quote unquote experts in, and then share that with you. And then you determine, hey, that fits for me, or I want to learn more, or not. So, Guys Radio, I'm here for you every week. I want to thank all my wonderful guests. I want to thank my terrific producer, Chris. I want to thank my strategy lead, Ryan. And most of all, I want to thank you, our wonderful audience that keeps growing and growing and growing. And if you enjoy the guests and content I bring you each and every week to Guys Radio and online Guys TV, please support us by subscribing to our channels and platforms. Really appreciate you. Thank you for letting me into your journey. And I'll see you next week. And until then, like I always say, guys, finish first.
KCAA.
What is your plan for your beneficiaries to manage your final expenses when you pass away? Life insurance, annuities, bank accounts, investment accounts, all require death certificates.